The night sky was not dark anymore. It burned. Flames rose high above the broken cities, and the smoke covered the stars. Every street of the colony world Karsus 7 was filled with chaos. Sirens screamed, people ran, and explosions shook the ground again and again. The once peaceful colony, a jewel of trade in the outer rim, was now only a battlefield. From orbit, massive alien ships blocked the sunlight. Their shadows stretched across the planet like a curtain of death. The enemy called themselves the Drakh Empire, a species feared in half the galaxy. Where their fleets arrived, only silence and ruins were left behind. For the colonists, there was no escape. They had seen city after city fall in only days. The Drakh war machines tore down walls, ripped through defenses, and crushed all resistance. They showed no mercy. Women, men, and children, none were safe. The last stand of the defenders. The local soldiers had fought bravely. Their small tanks and rifles were nothing compared to the alien walkers that strode through the streets. Plasma fire cut through human armor as if it were paper. Every battle ended the same way, with more bodies on the ground and less hope in the air. Inside the last stronghold, a damaged military command center, Colonel Aiden Vey watched the holomap flicker with red marks. Each red mark was an enemy unit. They filled the screen like a plague spreading across the planet. His officers stood silent, faces pale, knowing what those marks meant. "It's over," one of them whispered. The colonel clenched his fists. He wanted to deny it, to shout that humanity would never fall. But he had seen the truth with his own eyes. He had seen his soldiers, brave and loyal, burn under alien fire. They had no reinforcements. No fleet was coming. Earth was too far, too busy with its own survival. Even if they sent a message, by the time help arrived, Karsus 7 would be ash. The voice of despair. In the civilian shelters below, the atmosphere was even worse. Thousands huddled together in underground bunkers, listening to the thunder above. Mothers tried to calm crying children, fathers stared at the floor in silence. Some prayed. Some cursed. Most simply waited for the end. One old man said, "No one is coming. They will slaughter us all. Better to die quickly than to wait." Others nodded in bitter agreement. Hope had already died in their hearts. And yet, a few still looked upward, to the broken radios and damaged satellites, wishing for a miracle. The alien commander. High above the planet, in the command deck of the Drakh flagship, General HFY watched the destruction with cold satisfaction. His scaled face showed no emotion, but his voice carried the weight of arrogance. "Another world will fall," he said to his officers. "Another colony will be erased from history." The humans thought they could spread among the stars. They were wrong. They are weak. They will serve, or they will die. The Drakh Empire had crushed dozens of species before. To them, this was not war, it was routine. Humanity was only the next name on a long list. But even the general, with all his confidence, did not know that this battle would not end like the others. Something hidden was waiting, something his empire had never faced before. The signal. Back in the command center, Colonel Vey gave one last order. "If no help is coming, then we will send one final cry into the dark." The communications officer hesitated. "Colonel, Earth is months away by FTL lanes. Even if they hear us, send it anyway," Vey snapped. His eyes were filled with a strange fire. "Let them know we fought. Let them know we did not die in silence." And so, with shaking hands, the officer pressed the controls. A long-range pulse signal shot into the void of space. It carried only one message, simple and desperate. "This is Karsus 7. We are under attack. No hope remains. To any human forces, please help us." The officer lowered his head after sending it. He believed no one would ever hear. The silence. Hours passed. The Drakh forces advanced deeper into the colony. Cities became graveyards. Skies turned red. The defenders were pushed into smaller and smaller pockets of resistance. Every time Colonel Vey looked at his men, he saw only exhaustion. They fought, but their eyes were empty. They were fighting only because they did not know how to stop. And yet, in the middle of all this despair, something strange happened. A whisper of hope. The communications console blinked. Once. Twice. Then again. "Sir," the officer said, voice trembling. We have a reply." The entire room froze. Soldiers lifted their heads, officers turned their eyes. A reply? Impossible. The colonel stepped forward, his heart pounding. "Put it on speaker." A crackle of static filled the room. Then, through the distortion, came a calm but powerful voice. "This is the United Earth Defense Forces. Message received. Human forces are mobilizing. Hold on." For a moment, no one spoke. They could not breathe. Was this real? Or only a cruel trick of their dying minds? But the voice continued, steady and unshaken. "You are not alone. Reinforcements are on the way." Reaction. Some soldiers cried. Some laughed, half in madness, half in relief. The civilians who heard the news in the shelters lifted their heads for the first time in days. Mothers hugged their children tighter, whispering, "We are saved, maybe we are saved." Even Colonel Vey, who had prepared himself to die, felt tears sting his eyes. But he quickly wiped them away. "Don't celebrate yet," he said, though his voice was softer now. "We don't know who they are, or when they'll arrive. But if they come, we will stand with them." The enemy learns. In the Drak flagship, General XYRR received the intercepted message. He listened to the human reply with cold amusement. "Reinforcements," he sneered. "Let them come. We will crush them the same way we crushed these colonists." His officers laughed, confident in their empire's strength. They believed nothing in the galaxy could challenge them. But deep in the general's mind, a small shadow of unease began to grow. The voice in that message, it was too calm, too certain. It did not sound like the voice of a doomed species. The unknown approaches. Far beyond the edge of the colony's star system, something stirred. Human warships, black silhouettes against the void, slid out of hyperspace lanes. Their engines burned bright, their weapons ready. Among them were soldiers who had trained for battles no one else dared to fight. Soldiers who carried the burden of humanity's darkest wars. Soldiers who had been shaped by centuries of survival against impossible odds. They were coming. They had heard the cry. And when they arrived, the tide of the war would change forever. Closing of Part 1. On Karsus, 7, the people still trembled in fear. The Drak Empire still pressed forward with unstoppable might. The colony still seemed doomed. But for the first time in weeks, a spark had returned. A single spark of belief. Because someone, somewhere, had answered. Because human soldiers were on their way. And as every survivor whispered the same words in the dark, they did not know the truth yet. The enemy had not seen war. Not until now. The colony skies were filled with smoke. Fires burned across ruined cities. The alien fleet hung above like giant beasts, their black hulls reflecting the light of destruction below. To the colonists, it felt like waiting for execution. Even after the mysterious human message, fear still ruled every heart. Many whispered in the bunkers, "What if it was only a lie? What if no one is coming?" Hope was fragile, like glass ready to shatter with the next tremor. Colonel Aiden Vey stood at the command post, eyes on the tactical screens. Red signals covered every continent. Alien armies pushed forward without slowing. The message from Earth echoed in his head. Human forces are mobilizing. Hold on. He wanted to believe it. But he had seen too many battles lost, too many promises broken. Mobilizing could mean hours, days, even weeks. His people did not have that long. Alien arrogance. High above, inside the Drak flagship Oblivion Spear, General XYRR leaned back in his throne-like chair. The wide windows of the bridge showed the burning planet below. His scaled lips curled in a cruel smile. "Pathetic," he muttered. "This world will fall before their so-called reinforcements arrive." His officers hissed in agreement. One of them, a tall warrior with golden armor, stepped forward. "General, do you wish us to prepare an ambush for the incoming human ships?" XYRR waved a claw dismissively. "No need. If they come, we crush them. If they hide, we will burn their world anyway. Nothing can change the outcome." Confidence filled the alien ranks. They had never lost a war. Why would this battle be any different? The silent arrival. But far at the edge of the system, beyond the range of alien sensors, a disturbance spread in space. At first, it was only a ripple. Then light bent, stars distorted, and massive forms emerged. Ships. Dozens of them. Their design was strange compared to the sleek, curved shapes of alien craft. These were darker, heavier, built like moving fortresses. Human warships. At the center was a massive carrier, the UES Resolute. Its hull was scarred from old battles, its guns huge and silent, waiting. Around it, destroyers and cruisers spread into formation. Engines flared blue as they adjusted positions with deadly precision. Inside the flagship, Admiral Rain Solon stood before the main screen. His uniform was plain, but his presence filled the room. His eyes were sharp, his face carved by years of war. He looked at the burning colony world. His voice was calm. "Signal all ships. The people of Karsus, 7 are not alone. We fight. First contact." The alien sensors finally caught the disturbance. Red alarms lit across the Drak command decks. General XYR hissed, standing to his full height. "What is this?" "Ships, human ships." The operator confirmed nervously. "Yes, General. Unknown number. They just appeared outside the system's safe entry lanes." The general narrowed his eyes. That was not possible. Safe lanes were the only predictable way to enter. For a fleet to appear directly out of dark hyperspace was madness. Risk of destruction was too high. And yet, the humans had done it. "Fools," XYR growled. "They will learn why no one defies the Drak Empire." The Sky War begins. The human fleet advanced in tight formation. Alien warships moved to intercept, spreading like a black net. Plasma weapons glowed as energy charged across alien hulls. On the Resolute, Admiral Rain gave the first order: fire control. Target their command vessels. Break their head, and the body will follow. Dozens of human cannons roared at once. The void lit with streaks of kinetic slugs and missile trails. Unlike the glowing beams of alien plasma, human weapons were brutal, high-velocity rounds that tore through shields by sheer force. The first alien cruiser exploded in a storm of fire. Another reeled back, its engines shattered. The Drak fleet staggered, unprepared for the sudden strike. General XYR slammed his fist against his chair. "Impossible! Their weapons, how are they piercing shields so easily?" His officers shouted in panic as more ships fell. The humans fought differently. They did not match alien elegance. They fought with raw power, ruthless precision. The ground awakens. Meanwhile, on the surface of Karsus 7, people looked up at the night sky. At first, they thought new stars had appeared. Then they realized those were burning alien ships falling from orbit. Cheers spread in the bunkers. Soldiers shouted in disbelief. For the first time, the enemy bled. Then came another shock. Dropships screamed through the atmosphere, cutting across the sky like falling meteors. They were not alien. They were human. Colonel Vey grabbed his comms. "Identify yourselves." A calm reply came back. "This is Earth Defense Drop Unit Echo. We are landing now. Hold your lines." The colonel stared in awe. Reinforcements had arrived. Real human soldiers, not just words. The unseen soldiers. The dropships slammed into the ground with heavy thuds. Ramps lowered. Out stepped soldiers in black armor, taller, stronger, moving with mechanical precision. These were not ordinary infantry. These were Earth's elite shock troopers, born from decades of secret training. Their armor gleamed with reinforced plating, their helmets featureless except for glowing visors. Colonist soldiers stared at them in silence. Some whispered, "Are they even human?" The troopers wasted no time. They advanced into the ruined streets, weapons ready. Their rifles fired blue streaks that cut through alien armor. Their movements were fast, almost inhuman. The first alien patrol they encountered did not even have time to scream. Within seconds, the troopers cut them down with ruthless efficiency. Alien shock. Word spread quickly across the alien command. Reports flooded General XYR's ears. Human ground forces spotted. Our patrols wiped out. Casualties rising. XYRR snarled. What kind of soldiers are these? No one had an answer. The Drakh Empire had fought humans before, but never like this. These soldiers fought with discipline sharper than any warrior caste. They did not retreat. They did not fear. To the aliens, they looked like shadows of death. Hope rises. Inside the shelters, colonists heard the distant sound of battle. But this time, it was different. Alien screams echoed instead of human cries. Explosions lit the night, but they came from enemy machines destroyed. A mother whispered to her child, "The humans came. The humans are here." Colonel Vey finally stood tall. He looked at his broken soldiers. "You see," he said, "we are not abandoned. Fight with them. Stand with them. Show the enemy we will not bow." His men, once hopeless, now gripped their rifles with new strength. The arrival of unseen soldiers had lit a fire in every heart. A message to the enemy. Back in orbit, Admiral Rain Solon sent a broadcast directly to the Drakh flagship. His voice was calm, steady, but carried the weight of iron. "This is the United Earth Defense Forces. You thought this colony was alone. You thought humanity was weak. You were wrong. Leave now, or face annihilation." The bridge of the alien flagship fell silent. General XYR's claws dug into the armrest of his chair. His pride screamed to ignore the warning, to crush the humans with all his might. But deep in his heart, for the first time, he felt something new. Something dangerous. Fear. Closing of Part 2. The war had only begun. The Drakh Empire still held the skies, still commanded vast armies, still believed themselves invincible. But now, against them stood soldiers unlike any they had faced. Soldiers who carried the fury of Earth. The tide had started to turn. And as fire spread across orbit and ground, one truth became clear to both colonists and aliens alike. The humans had arrived. And they were here to fight. The colony of Karsus 7 had been dying for weeks. Cities had burned, families had been slaughtered, and hope had turned to ash. But now, something had changed. For the first time, the aliens bled. For the first time, the people saw the sky filled with fire that belonged not only to their enemy, but also to those who fought for them. The humans had arrived. And with them, came a storm. The streets of fire. The black-armored shock troopers moved through the ruined city like shadows. Their boots crunched over broken glass, their weapons glowing faintly in the smoke. Every corner they turned, every building they entered, the aliens died. The Drakh warriors had ruled every battlefield until this moment. They were larger than most humans, their scaled skin hard as stone, their plasma rifles deadly. But against the shock troopers, their size and strength meant nothing. One squad of Drakh soldiers tried to set an ambush in the remains of a collapsed market. They roared, charging from behind cover. But the humans did not flinch. They moved in perfect formation, their rifles cutting down the enemy before the aliens even fired a shot. When it ended, only silence remained. Smoke drifted through the air. Not a single human had fallen. The colonist soldiers, watching from behind the lines, could hardly believe what they had seen. One whispered, "I thought they were men, but they fight like machines." Civilians see hope. Underground, word spread quickly. Messages passed from one bunker to another. The humans are winning battles. The enemy is retreating in the streets. In the shelters, people lifted their heads. For days, they had only heard the alien roars, the thunder of bombardment, and the screams of the dying. Now, they heard something new, alien death cries, and the heavy thud of human weapons. Children who had been silent finally whispered questions. "Mama, are we saved?" And mothers, though still afraid, finally had something to answer. Maybe, yes, maybe. Hope returned like a candle in the dark. Small, fragile, but burning. The alien elite. General XYRR on the flagship was furious. Reports came in one after another. Patrols lost. Entire units destroyed. Human soldiers advancing. "These cannot be ordinary humans," one officer hissed. "They fight like something else. They kill without hesitation. They do not fall." The general slammed his clawed fist onto the command table. "Then send the Kerneth." The bridge fell silent. The Kerneth were the Drak Empire's most feared warriors, the elite bred for war, killers trained since birth. Wherever the Kerneth walked, entire armies broke before them. If these humans thought themselves strong, they would learn what true terror was. Clash in the ruins. The first encounter came in the ruins of an industrial zone. Human shock troopers were clearing out alien forces when the ground trembled. From the smoke emerged figures larger than any normal Drak. Their armor was jagged, their weapons massive plasma blades that glowed like fire. Their eyes burned with fury. The Kerneth roared, shaking the ruins. The colonist soldiers who saw them froze in fear. Even the troopers paused for a moment. These were no ordinary foes. Then the battle began. The Kerneth charged, plasma blades cutting the air. The shock troopers met them head-on. Rifles roared, but the Kerneth shields held. One trooper was knocked back, his armor dented by a massive strike. Another narrowly dodged a glowing blade. But the humans did not retreat. They adapted. In seconds, their formation shifted. Grenades detonated under the Kerneth's feet. Targeted fire hammered the joints of their armor. One by one, the giants began to fall. The colonists watching from behind gasped. These were the Empire's strongest, the monsters that no species had ever stopped. And yet, the humans cut them down. When the last Kerneth collapsed, his roar turning to a gurgle, the street was silent. The shock of victory. Colonel Aiden Vey stood with his men on a nearby rooftop, watching. His mouth hung open slightly. They killed the Kerneth. His soldiers could hardly process it. For years, they had heard stories of those warriors, how they broke armies, how no one survived facing them. But now, their bodies lay in the dirt. The human troopers didn't cheer. They didn't even pause. They simply checked their weapons, adjusted formation, and moved on to the next target. To them, it was just another battle. But to the colonists, it was the moment everything changed. Morale awakens. Back in the shelters, news spread like wildfire. The humans killed the Kerneth. They can't be stopped. People who had been broken days ago now shouted with excitement. Men who had given up hope picked up weapons again. Women who had wept endlessly now held their children with strength. Even the soldiers of Karsus, 7 felt new fire in their hearts. They began to march with pride again. For the first time since the invasion began, they believed survival was possible. And they believed because the humans stood with them. Alien fear. In the flagship, General XYRR's scales twitched with rage. His officers reported more losses, more retreats. Even the Kerneth had fallen. "This cannot be," one officer muttered. "No one kills the Kerneth. No one." But someone had. The humans. For the first time, the general's arrogance cracked. His pride still held, but inside him grew something he hated to admit: doubt. The human commander. That night, as the battle slowed, Colonel Vey finally met the human commander. A tall figure in black armor stepped into the command center, helmet under his arm. His face was scarred, his eyes hard as steel. "I am Commander Cale Draven," he said simply. His voice carried no emotion, only certainty. "We are here to fight." The colonel, a man who had seen countless battles, felt small before him. "Your soldiers, they fight like nothing I've ever seen." Draven nodded. "They were made for this. Earth does not waste soldiers on battles we cannot win. And we did not come here to lose." The colonel hesitated, then asked, "Is there truly hope? Can we win?" Draven's eyes were cold, but his words were steady. This was only the beginning. Closing of Part 3. Across the colony, hope burned brighter than the fires of war. Civilians whispered in awe of the soldiers in black. Colonists picked up their weapons once more. The enemy, once feared as gods, now bled like mortals. The tide was turning. And as Commander Draven's words echoed through the hearts of all who heard them, one truth became clear. The fall of Karsus 7 was no longer certain. The humans had changed everything. But deep in the shadows of space, the Drakh Empire prepared their next move. They would not allow this insult to stand. The true war was only beginning. The alien sky burned. The dark red clouds were filled with fire and broken ships. Human war machines stood like giants among ruins. Their engines roared like thunder, their guns spoke like storms, and every alien who dared to raise a weapon trembled in fear. The reckoning had begun. For the first time since the war started, the galaxy saw what humans truly were. Not the weak and helpless species the councils once mocked. Not the fragile people others thought could only hide behind words. No. What stood before the aliens now was something far worse, something born from war, pain, and endless struggle. Humanity had shed its mask. The alien commander Vortal looked out across the battlefield from his broken flagship. His scales were cracked, his armor stained with ash. He had fought in 100 wars, but never had he seen such destruction. The humans had arrived with machines that tore through fleets like paper, soldiers who fought as if death itself feared them, and weapons so dark the galaxy had no name for them. His mind replayed the first strikes. Cities that once glowed with alien pride were now burning craters. Fortresses that had stood for centuries crumbled in a single night. Human ships did not just fire, they ripped reality with strange energy, bending the very space around them. "Commander," one of his surviving officers whispered, trembling. "They fight as if vengeance is their only goal. They do not stop. They do not retreat. It is monstrous." Vortal closed his eyes. "Monstrous." He let out a low growl. "No. This is justice. This is what we brought upon ourselves when we thought we could control them. We mocked their weakness. We enslaved their children. And now, the humans have come to collect their debt." On the ground below, Captain Elena Rain marched forward with her unit of armored soldiers. The air was thick with smoke, the ground broken from bombardments. Her exosuit was covered in alien blood, her rifle humming with power. Behind her, rows of alien prisoners knelt, their weapons scattered, their eyes wide with terror. They had once laughed at human resistance. Now they begged for mercy. But Elena's eyes showed no softness, only cold fire. A young alien soldier tried to crawl toward her, his voice shaking. "Please, we surrender. We mean no harm now." Elena raised her weapon, then lowered it after a long pause. She leaned close, her voice sharp. "Do you know what your people did to us? Do you remember the camps where you kept our children? Do you remember how you burned our homes and laughed? We begged for mercy then. Did you show it?" The alien said nothing. Tears streamed from his strange, glowing eyes. "Good," Elena whispered, standing tall. "Then you already know the answer." She turned away, leaving him shaking on the ground. The humans were not here to play the role of victims anymore. They were the storm, and nothing could stop them. In orbit, the Titan-class warship Oblivion stood like a god of metal. Its cannons glowed, ready to fire again. The alien fleet, once numbering in the thousands, was reduced to scattered wrecks drifting like bones in the void. Inside the command chamber, Admiral Marcus Kane watched the battlefield with cold focus. His officers reported victory after victory. Every alien counterattack was crushed. Every stronghold fell. "Admiral," one officer said, "the enemy fleets are breaking. Entire sectors are retreating." Kane nodded. "Let them run. But make sure they know what follows. No matter where they go, humanity will find them. And when we arrive, they will remember this day, the day they thought they could erase us from history, but instead erased themselves." The crew nodded, their faces hard, their hearts burning with the same fire. Humanity had been pushed too far, and now the galaxy would learn why you never cornered a species born in struggle, raised in wars, and sharpened by pain. But the reckoning was not just destruction. It was revelation. Every alien world that fell under human boots carried whispers. Whispers of something greater, something darker hidden deep within human ranks. A weapon no one had yet seen in full. Rumors spread like fire. A machine that could erase entire star systems in seconds. Soldiers who could fight even after death, rising again and again. A force humans called only the Black Sun. Whether truth or fear, none could say. But one thing was certain, the galaxy now believed humanity had become something unstoppable. And yet, Kane knew the truth. Humanity was powerful, yes. Their weapons unmatched, their spirit unbroken. But they were not gods. They bled, they hurt, they lost comrades in every battle. What made them terrifying was not invincibility. It was the fact that no matter how much they bled, no matter how much they lost, they refused to stop. Humanity's strength was not their machines. It was their will. Back on the ground, Elena and her soldiers advanced through a ruined alien city. The streets were filled with smoke, shattered towers leaning like broken teeth. Alien civilians hid in the shadows, watching with wide, fearful eyes. One of Elena's men, Sergeant Hayes, glanced at the civilians. "Captain, what about them? They're not fighters." Elena looked at the faces staring back at her. Mothers clutching children. Old ones too weak to move. Their fear was sharp, but it was not the fear of soldiers. "Leave them," she said firmly. "We're not here to destroy the innocent. We're here for the ones who took everything from us." Hayes nodded, though his hands tightened on his rifle. He had lost family in the first wave of alien attacks. The hunger for vengeance was strong in every soldier. But Elena knew the line they could not cross. If they became monsters, then humanity's soul would truly be gone. Yet, even as she said it, she wondered, how long could that line hold? In the alien council chambers, panic spread. Messages from every sector painted the same picture: human forces crushing resistance, alien fleets shattered, entire systems falling in days. Counselor Virith slammed his claws against the table. "This is impossible." They were weak, broken, begging for survival. How could they turn into this? An older counselor whispered, voice trembling. "Perhaps they were never weak. Perhaps we only saw what they allowed us to see." The room fell silent at those words. If that was true, if humans had hidden their strength until now, then everything they believed about the galaxy was a lie. And the lie was killing them. On board the Oblivion, Admiral Kane received a private transmission from Earth Command. The message was short but heavy with meaning. Phase 2 authorization granted. The reckoning must be complete. Leave no doubt in their hearts. Kane read the words, his jaw tightening. Phase 2. The step no one outside Earth had ever heard of. His officers looked at him, waiting. "Admiral, do we proceed?" Kane's eyes burned with the weight of the decision. He knew what Phase 2 meant. It would show the galaxy something so terrifying that no one would ever think of rising against Earth again. but it would also change humanity forever. Finally, he spoke. Yes. Begin Phase 2. The order spread through the fleet like fire. Engines roared, weapons charged, and hidden compartments inside the Titan warships opened for the first time. The galaxy had seen human vengeance. Now, it would see something even worse. On the battlefield, Vortal watched the sky split open as new human weapons appeared. Black orbs, glowing with strange light, began to descend. They pulsed like living things, humming with energy that made the ground shake. What is that? One of his officers whispered in horror. Vortal stared, his throat dry. That is the end. The orbs touched down, and from them came shapes no alien could fully understand. Machines of shadow and fire. Their forms shifted as if they were alive, their weapons bending light, tearing apart alien defenses with ease. They moved like predators, silent and merciless. The black sun had risen. Fear swept across every alien world as reports of the black sun spread. Entire armies vanished in minutes. Fortresses melted as if they were made of wax. The orbs did not just destroy, they erased. Whole cities vanished without a trace, as if they had never existed. Alien leaders screamed for retreat, for peace, for mercy. But humanity did not stop. The reckoning demanded balance. For every human city burned, an alien city would fall. For every child taken, 1,000 alien soldiers would vanish. For every drop of human blood spilled, oceans of alien blood would answer. This was no longer a war. This was judgment. And yet, within the fire and vengeance, questions remained. Would humanity stop once the aliens were crushed? Or would the fire they had unleashed consume the entire galaxy? Admiral Kane stood on the bridge of the Oblivion, staring into the stars. His people had suffered, and justice was being served. But deep inside, a shadow lingered. Admiral, Elena's voice came through the comms. We're pushing them back, but I have to ask, when does it end? Kane was silent for a long time. Then he whispered words only he could hear. When the galaxy remembers never to touch Earth again. And not a moment sooner. The reckoning was far from over. The sky above Karsus 7 had turned black with smoke and fire. The air smelled of burnt metal and ash. Cities that had once shone with alien pride were nothing but ruins. Fires roared in streets, and alien war machines lay broken, smoking, or exploding. Human warships moved like a tidal wave across orbit, their guns blazing. Titans of steel, black as night, they descended with precision, leaving no chance for retreat. The galaxy had never seen such power. Colonists watched from underground shelters, eyes wide with awe. Children clutched their mothers' hands. Fathers whispered, They came to save us. And they had. The human advance. On the ground, Captain Elena Rain led her shock troopers through the crumbled streets. Their boots crushed debris. Their rifles glowed with energy, firing in rapid bursts. Every alien soldier who tried to raise a weapon fell instantly. The Black Sun units followed behind them. Giant, shadow-like machines, pulsing with energy, moved silently, erasing alien fortresses as if they were nothing more than sandcastles. Sergeant Hayes glanced at the destruction and swallowed hard. Captain, they're unstoppable. Elena did not respond. She simply advanced. Her eyes were cold, determined. Every fallen human, every destroyed city of theirs, had forged this rage. Every step forward carried the weight of history and vengeance. Behind her, the surviving colonists joined the fight. They picked up rifles abandoned in battle, grenades dropped by humans, and together they pushed the enemy back. The humans were the spear, the colonists were the shield, and together they were unstoppable. Alien desperation. In orbit, General Vortal barked orders. Reinforce the ground units. Push them back. Show them the might of the Drakh Empire. His officers scrambled. Entire fleets had been shattered. Systems across Karsus 7 were now under human fire control. Alien command centers were being destroyed one by one. Panic spread. Vortal's claws trembled. He had never seen a species fight like this. His Kurnoth elite were gone. His fleets were burning. His cities destroyed. And still, the humans advanced. "This cannot be," he muttered. "No species has ever survived what we do." But humanity had survived, and now, they were taking everything. Ground battles intensify. The final battle took place in the central city, the alien capital of Karsus, 7. Towering spires of metal and glass were crumbled. Streets were littered with dead and wreckage. Elena's team stormed the central plaza. The remaining alien defenders were elite soldiers, armed to the teeth, but they had no chance. Shock troopers moved with perfect precision. One fired a grenade into a cluster of enemies. Another shot down a plasma walker before it could aim. The humans fought like shadows, striking, vanishing, then striking again. The aliens could not anticipate their moves. Every attack was a surprise, every strike lethal. In the midst of chaos, the colonists cheered. They had watched humans fight before, but this was something more. They saw not just skill, but determination beyond imagination. One young soldier, barely 18, whispered, "It's like they're ghosts, or gods." Elena heard him and shook her head. "Neither," she said. "They're human. And humans never give up." The fall of alien leadership. High above, Vortal's flagship floated like a dying beast. Alarm sirens screamed. Smoke filled the bridge. The humans were in orbit, their cannons blasting the ship, tearing through shields like paper. Vortal tried to escape, but Admiral Marcus Kane's fleet had predicted every move. Human destroyers blocked every exit, Titans waited in ambush. "Prepare the emergency warp," Vortal hissed. "We cannot stay here." Too late. The flagship shook violently. Explosions tore through the hull. Crew screamed. Vortal's claws tried to stabilize his command console, but nothing worked. A massive human cannon from the Oblivion fired. Light tore through the flagship. Metal screamed, energy cascaded across the decks. Vortal was thrown against the wall as the ship shattered. The Drakh Empire's leader had fallen. The rest of the fleet scattered, leaderless, terrified. The final push. On the ground, Elena and her shock troopers stormed the last alien bastion. Human machines cleared debris, Black Sun units destroyed defensive walls. Colonists fought alongside them, reclaiming their home. The remaining aliens tried to resist, but their morale was gone. Every step they took brought them closer to death. Every weapon they fired failed. Every wall they hid behind crumbled. Finally, the last of the alien commanders was cornered in the central plaza. Elena's team surrounded him. He roared, furious, his claws slicing the air. You are nothing," he screamed. Elena stepped forward, her rifle aimed. "You took everything from us. You killed our people. You thought we were weak. Now, you will learn what humanity is." The alien dropped his weapon, fear finally overcoming rage. He knew the battle was over. Humanity had won. Humanity's triumph. Across Karsus, 7, colonists emerged from shelters. They saw the smoke clearing, alien forces retreating, and human soldiers standing victorious. Children ran into the streets, hugging soldiers. Families cried, their voices rising in joy for the first time in weeks. The colony was battered, but it lived. The humans had turned the tide. Admiral Kane's fleet hovered above, scanning for any remaining alien vessels. There were few left. Those who survived would never again dare attack humanity. On the ground, Elena watched the horizon. Fires still burned, but the battle was done. She lowered her rifle, breathing deeply. Every soldier around her did the same. They were victorious, but they were also weary. The cost had been high, but the fight had been worth it. Colonel Vey approached, nodding to Elena. "You've done more than save this colony. You've shown what humans are capable of." Elena shook her head. "This is only the beginning. We will never stop." Wherever they threaten humanity, we will be there. A message to the galaxy. Admiral Kane broadcasted a message across every communication channel in the sector. The Drakh Empire has been defeated on Karsus 7. Let this be a warning to any who think to threaten humanity. We are not weak. We are not helpless. We are the storm. And any who challenge us will face the same fate. Silence followed for a moment. Then, across every world where humans were known, whispers began. The galaxy understood. Humanity had arrived. Humanity would never be ignored again. Even alien worlds began to whisper fear. For the first time, the Drakh Empire's reputation was broken. Humanity was no longer just survivors, they were predators. Closing of Part 5. The fires of war slowly died down. The sky cleared, revealing stars that had been hidden behind smoke. Survivors walked among the ruins, some weeping, some smiling, some silent in awe. Elena looked at the horizon. She could see the humans repairing, regrouping, preparing for the next challenge. The galaxy would test them again, of course. But humanity had proven something no one would ever forget. Colonel Vey turned to her, voice quiet but firm. We survived. Karsus 7 survives. Humanity survived. Elena nodded. And next time, they will learn faster. Above them, the stars shone brightly. The humans had judged the galaxy, and the galaxy had felt the weight of their vengeance. The final judgment was complete.